to be here with me today. And trust me, we're going to have a great time. We're not going to waste your time. There is a whole lot to unpack in this free webinar. I want to believe that the most critical aspect of our life right now is got to be parenting, because the rules have changed. Many of us are Generation X and Y. We are raising Generation Z and Generation Alpha now, which means new rules, old people. We cannot afford to be ignorant of what is happening across the globe, because while all the other ethnic groups in the world are scripting, they perfected the act of scripting their children for success. One of the things we have not done too well as Africans is the fact that we have not learned the act of building systems, building templates, and creating a form that can deliver a predictable result. And those are some of the things we're going to be considering today. A lot is going on in the life of our children. I mean, as someone who has worked as a premium coach for about 18 years of my life and worked as a consultant to governments of a few countries, state governments in Nigeria, and a number of schools, I can tell you firsthand that what is happening is nothing to write home about for many of our children, because while the children in some other parts of the world are mastering how to create games, how to create systems, how to create templates, many of our children are playing the game, and they have grown to a level right now that what is happening in some of our schools, I mean, I get called by schools to come and intervene in a particular child who has been caught, maybe in same sex, or caught having sex, or an entire class masturbating, or an entire class going through to there, or an entire class grinding and all kinds of things. And some of these schools are high-rated schools. So parenting has never been easy. Growing up for me, it was, what I saw was totally different from, what many people experience. So I had a father who was very hard. I had the mother who understood love and communication. So I can't remember my mother ever beating me, but I remember the cane of my father consistently, even though some of the times I can't remember what I was being beaten for. But I'll tell you that the communication of my mother saved me much more than what my father did, because the cane of my father couldn't stop me from being molested or what you would call raped right now at the age of 4. Didn't stop that for 4 years till age 8. Didn't stop that from another person took over from age 8 to 12. Totally a mess at the age of 15, 16, before I began to rediscover my life at the age of 19. Guys, things are happening, and I want to believe we're going to have a great, great time. We have 2 sessions, and we're going to have Q&A. Thank God, Ocheo, who I consider to be one of the best child psychologists in the country, is going to be sharing with us for about 30 minutes. Then we'll take questions for 15 minutes. Then I'll come back to share on the science of parenting a genius. Please, everything we're going to be sharing here today are templates that have been researched. One of the things I vowed never to do, about 7 years ago, is to take what has not been researched. So many of the things you're going to be hearing here may not fall in the line of hope, wherein we just hope it's going to work. No, they are templates we have researched, template we have implemented, template that we have results to show that it truly works. That any human being who follows some of these templates, we get the same result. Principles are universal. Application is what is totally different. So I want to believe that you're ready with your pens and paper. There is an assessment, a parenting assessment that they're going to share with you in the chat line, on the chat line. It's something that I want you guys to go through. It's about 15 questions. Carefully go through the questions while the first session is on. Just answer yes and no, yes and no, yes and no. By the time you're done with your yes and no, count the number of your yeses and then divide it by 15, multiplied by 100. Whatever result you have, I will explain it when I take my session. Okay, the anchor for today's program is Fowowe. Fowowe, are you ready? So that you can take it away and bring in, thank God. Ebon, how are you doing today?
Awesome. Good evening, PF. Thank you for the privilege and for the opportunity to do this. Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to this awesome experience with, thank God, Echeho and Praise Fowowe on the new rules of parenting. So without wasting our time, I want to be sure, thank God, Echeho is in the house. Thank God, are you here?
Let me try and call him, everyone, and find out where maybe he's trying to join in. I'll get back to you shortly.
Okay, so while we wait for, thank God, I just like PF had mentioned, we're going to have an awesome time this evening. A lot of things are actually going on, and we need to understand that these children are living their own world and that we are the ones that need to change our method. The truth of the matter is we cannot continue using the old method for these children. It might not work. It will not even work. And that is why we need to learn the new rules so that we can understand how to handle this new generation. You cannot imagine how their brains work, the things they are exposed to. We have to learn how to use system, but they are, they are opening their eyes into it right there in their front. And you will agree with me that some of them don't need to know your password before they even unlock your mobile phone. That is because of the way their minds work. And some of them, like one of the posts we did while we were broadcasting this meeting, some of them are exposed to a lot of things. And the truth of the matter is some parents are still living in denial. And that is why we need to come together as parents to understand what is happening. And it's going to be a very interesting ride this evening. I want to find out if Thank God is here now.
If it's not here, I'll most likely start by taking my session. That's if it's not here within the next 3 minutes. I'm trying to reach him. Yeah.
I want to welcome the daddies that are here especially. Thank you for loving your children so much and for tuning in. You know, usually we expect that the women, there will be many, but I can see Alexandra Akman, I can see Emmanuel Oinloye, I can see males in the house. I celebrate you all. Thank you for joining us. While we wait for, thank God, PF, can we have you first?
Yeah. I'll just go. So thank you very much, Ebon.
Okay, so PF, permit me to introduce you. I need to do that. Okay. It's not everybody that knows you. So permit me to present to someone, and I introduce to some, Praise Fowowe, who is an unconventional thinker, a futurist and premier creator and trainer of family systems engineering, a body of knowledge that assists families to build systems that support their happiness and assist family life coaches across the globe to improve their diagnostic tools and intervention management. Regarded as the father of family system engineering, Praise Fowowe has pioneered an entire sector and trained some of the finest family life coaches across the continent of Africa. An internationally acclaimed family life strategist with 18 years track record of transforming some of the most difficult families, Praise Fowowe works with HNIS across various cultures on 5 continents and consults for various governments on the family system engineering approach to build a sustainable society. He's a member of the Family Life Coaching Association USA and the International Association of Marriage and Family Counselors. Please welcome Praise Fowowe. Good evening, boss.
Thank you, Ebundama. Thank you so much. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining me. Can you all see my screen? Is my screen clear? Ebun, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you guys. I want to welcome you guys to this meeting once again, and I'm super excited to be sharing with you. I mean, I thought I'll take the second section, but I gotta go right now. I am excited, and I want to congratulate you for being so exceptional at parenting. Now, the first thing I want to do, I have a survey that I expect by now should have been shared. I mean, it should have been shared in your comments and your chat line. Ego, have you shared that survey? There's an assessment I want everyone to take. That's where I would like to start from. Okay. I believe, has it been shared? If it has not been shared,
Yes, please go on. We'll do that. We'll do that. Please go on.
I need it shared right now because I have to use it with the people right now. That's the first thing I want to do. Okay. Let me see. Can I share it myself? Parenting assessment. Okay. Sorry. Okay, guys, I have it shared. So please, you can download it from wherever you are. And I want you to quickly answer yes and no, yes and no, yes and no to that assessment. It will take you about 3-5 minutes, and I'm willing to wait. Once you are done answering yes and no, when you are not sure of the question or the answer, just put no. It means the answer is no. Right. Okay, I want you to do that right away. So please, if you're listening to me, kindly mute yourself, so that we can have a smooth ride. I have shared it. Can you see it? Parenting assessment is a PDF form. I have shared it. Can't see this assessment. People can't see it.
We can't see.
They can't say, wow. It's saying to me that it's been shared. Oh, cannot say it. So let me try.
Okay, so we can see it, but people need to download it. You need to download it. Viewers,
yeah, you need to download it. It's there. It's there. I need you to download it and then just answer. Just click download and answer yes and no, yes and no, yes and no, yes and no. Okay. Once you have answered the question, 15 questions, count the number of your yeses and divide it by 15 multiplied by 100. Count your yeses, divide it by 15, multiply by 100. I'll wait for about 3 minutes. It's in there. Just scroll up. It's a PDF form and it has been shared. Okay. Can it be sent to our mails, please? It can be sent to your mails right away, but I need you to do it right now in this class. Let me see if I can also. So those of you who have downloaded it, you can start working on it. Let me see if I can copy and paste as well for those who are struggling to download. Okay, that's going to be pretty tough. Okay, someone said she can't see. Oh, wow. You can't see it in the chat. So let me try and paste it. There's no PDF. Okay, so I'll try and resend it now. So just hold on and watch now. I can see it. So if you can't see it, then there is a problem. But don't worry, if you can say it, I'll get them to send it to your emails right away. I thought my team should be able to share it, but I don't know what's going on. Okay, but whichever way, just relax. We're going to have a great time. I wanted to start from there because there is something that is so critical that I think we all need to begin to understand as parents if we have to effectively raise children properly. Because consistently, a not okay. Yeah, I think so. It's there. Can you see it now? Okay, good. Fantastic. So it's a yes and no question. I mean, yes and no answer. So kindly just answer yes or no. Once you are done, you count the number of your yeses and you divide by 15, multiply by 100. Okay, so let me, okay, good. I think someone else has it. Someone else has it. Yeah, you can see 1 to 9. Yeah. We'll paste the rest. Okay, someone already has 80 something. Wow. Okay, I'm loving the answers that I'm getting. You guys are exceptional parents. The people I'm seeing who have already done theirs, and their result is looking so good. Well done. Just keep it coming. If you are yet to do yours, please kindly do it. I'll tell you what it means. So please kindly download it, and then let's do this together. Okay, you will understand why this is so critical to everything we have to share tonight. Okay, good. Now in parenting, I'm going to be sharing on the science of scripting a genius. The science of scripting a genius. Now, I want you all to unmute yourself. There is a confession I would love to start with, and I want us all to read it together. Right? I believe you can see it on your screen. I am worthy parent, and I understand my role in raising saviors. We're going to do it together. So I want you all to unmute yourself. I will count you in 1, 2, go, and we'll do it.
I'm a worthy parent. Now understand my role in raising saviors. Full transform our world.
I'm a worthy parent and I understand my role in raising survivors. Full transform our world. I rise from every failure and live above every open-minded to learn and master whatever it takes to produce the best version of my children, and through me, the families of the earth will be blessed. I'm a super parent of a super child.
Fantastic. Now you are worthy to understand your role. Our role as parents is to raise saviors. Our world is troubled at the moment, and in the troubled world, you will need saviors who will save our world from the pain our world is going through. Now, I know some of us look like we have failed, but it's time to rise above the failure and live above every old belief. You must be open-minded, and that's why this session is very critical. Now, if you have completed your assessment, right, and you scored between 0 to 30, it means you have a red card. You are in the red light zone. If you score between 31 to 49, it means you have a yellow card. That's warning. If you score between 50 to 69, you have the green card, which means you are not doing badly. But if you scored 70 and above, it means you are in an excellent state and you are on track. So let me go to the comment box and chat line and see what you guys are scoring. Okay, I can see 60. I can see people scoring 80 something. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Now, whatever you have scored, right? Don't feel bad. Even if you scored 0, you are not a bad parent. You have only done the best you could with what you knew. So there is no point beating yourself and eating yourself hard. You are very good, right? But you will now need to take in knowledge that will totally transform your reality and help you parent effectively. One of the things we have not done exceptionally well as Africans is the fact that we don't have a systems-driven approach to parenting. Oftentimes, we just do it the way our parents taught us. And that's why if you ask an average parent, who will your child be in 30 years' time? We do not know. We say, I just pray that my child will be successful by the special grace of God. We hope. Hope is good, but hope can no longer be an effective strategy because experience is showing us that people are raising terrorists consistently. People are raising ISIS. They are raising suicide bombers. They are scripting billionaires. There are nations of the world that will tell you 300 millionaires will rise, 33,000 billionaires, 300 billionaires will rise this year. China says that. And in no time you find them active. How are they doing it? How are the Jews doing it? How are the Japanese doing it? These are some of the researches that I've done over time, and that's what I'm going to be sharing with you in this particular session. Now, I love this verse, and it's one of my favorite verses. It says, initiate a child in the custom that he should follow. When he starts to show age, he will not turn away from it. Initiate a child in the custom he should follow. Now, what they presuppose is you understand as a parent the custom your child should follow. Now, if you as a parent, you yourself are troubled, there is no way you can initiate a child. You will initiate a child actually into your custom. The only problem is that your custom will not deliver the best interest of your child. As a matter of fact, your custom can sabotage the best interest of your child. And that's why consistently you realize that between the time a child is born and everybody comes and celebrates and who the child becomes in adulthood, something critical must have happened. Nobody was born a rapist. Nobody was born, an abuser. Nobody was born a wife beater. These are things that people develop over time. So I love this adage that says a man who goes to battle that requires a gun with a cutlass has already lost the battle. That you want to go and fight ISIS, but you are taking Shakabula or you are taking cutlass, you know you already lost the battle. Now, I want you to look at this image carefully. Those are three children, two children actually, and one young man. The first child is Bill Gates. The second one was R. Kelly. The third guy is Hush Puppy. What happens between infancy and adulthood? As a matter of fact, many parents get back to a child, they took the child to church or mosque, they did child dedication, dedicated the child to the Lord, but the child still turned out badly. What happened? It's what we call handling or scripting. That the life of a child oftentimes is always in the hand of the parent. That you can make or mar a child by the systems you have created, by who you are as a parent, by the structures you have put in place, and by your pain. Because your pain can be passed to your child, and that can trouble the world. I have studied the template that was used to raise Bill Gates. I studied the template of Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and many of the top people who rule our world today, including the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's amazing what I have seen that is similar to all of them. Now, no child was born bad. They become bad by a number of factors that could have been prevented with the right system. Unfortunately, lost old can never win the battle of the young. Many of us were not raised using systems and templates. And there is no way we can raise our children using systems and templates because we have not been taught, especially as Africans. So, R. Kelly is in jail right now. Everybody talks about the R. Kelly who became a molester, who became an abuser, who messed up a lot of girls. But nobody talks about that R. Kelly, the 6-year-old boy whose mother will leave him with 5 older ladies, and the mother will go to the store to go and sell, and the 5 older ladies will take turns sexually on R. Kelly as a child. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the fact that R. Kelly tried to run away from home at the age of 12, got close to a girl who was his first best friend. And one day they were playing, and there was a waves of the, that happened during a particular rain or something, and it swept the girl away, and that girl died. Nobody talked about the pain in his life. Nobody talked about therapy for him. He just moved on like that. His talent began to show in music. He became a musician. If you listen to many of his songs, they were cry for plea. This guy has been crying for help for a long time, but none of us paid attention because we enjoy the music. Now, This guy did not just wake up and became an abuser. R. Kelly was a child who was troubled, was a child who was messed up, was a child who was totally destroyed by the people in his life, and nobody paid attention. Question: what is happening to your child today that you don't know about? Who is messing up your child? Who is destroying your child? At the age of 4, the aunties in my life messed me up. At the age of 8, more of them continue, right? Who is that person touching your child, messing up your child? So you still look at your child and you think everything is right, but someone is already messing up with that child that you are not aware of. Now, the seed they are planting in your child, what harvest will you reap in the future? Now, the third guy there is Hush Puppy. We don't know what happened in his childhood, but you could see a childhood of pain that spiraled into an adulthood that began to trouble humanity. Now, you as a parent, I'll first want to face you, because if you don't understand this diagram, you will most likely destroy your child in the bid to raise your child, because you will not know that you yourself, you were somehow damaged. You know, many times adults in Africa make statements like, oh, you know, we were well brought up, we were well raised. And I'm saying, if we were well raised, our environment would have been a disciplined environment. But many of our environment look domesticated because we're domesticated. Domestication and discipline, they look alike in operation, but they are not the same. Now, in the human engineering, the way human beings are raised, there are 3 cycles you go through: your upbringing, your environment, and your significant emotional experience. At each of these, it's like your life is like a building. Your parents built you, but what materials was used to construct you is the question. Now, you are using substandard materials right now to construct some of your children. The school is a material. They're using substandard educational system to raise these children. There is no way a badly raised child is going to become a global icon. If you become a global icon, it will most likely become a global trouble. Now, Hitler was messed up as a child. Joseph Stalin was messed up as a child. Idi Amin was messed up as a child. And Donald Trump messed up as a child. You can see how well they troubled our world. Now, at every time within this, 3 levels, you meet people. Every experience they left you with was a program installed into you. So this is what we call the jar of life of a typical person. There was one person I did therapy for, and I got a permission to begin to use this for people to show them. Now you can see this person. He was born into a religious home. Religion was installed, but his father displayed conditional love, that you don't love except you give something. Conditional love was installed, that you do nothing for nothing. Then hypocrisy. A father would tell people don't drink wine, but the man drank beer at home. Sorry. So hypocrisy was installed, pretense was installed, the father had high standards, it was installed, anger, secrecy was installed, abuse, strictness, all these things were installed in her upbringing. Nobody paid attention, but they were installed. She got into the environment, mediocrity, pretense, lies, sexual liberty. She became very loose. You know, everybody looked at her, they call her flirt. They don't know the damage that was done in her upbringing that was responsible for the flirty nature that she had. Because when she was 6, she was raped. Now, if you have been raped, you stop seeing yourself as a being that must be respected. You start seeing yourself as a thing that must be used. By the time she got into the environment, she had already lost touch with herself. So what was happening to her was sex became a language. She began to sleep with everyone and everyone. Parents were tired of her. Everyone was tired of her, but nobody knew how her upbringing totally destroyed her. Now she had lack of choice, hurt and treatment, everything there was installed. Now, at some point, somebody came to preach about get born again to her. She got born again at the age of 17, there about that salvation, right? Got into school, became a leader in a fellowship, experienced motherhood, that was motherhood, transformation. But as she got involved in religion, she began to see hypocrisy again. Her imperfection began to give way. She had a depression, near-death experience, pain of death of her mentors, marriage, motherhood, she did a bit of NLP, so unknown to many people, she never revisited all these programs installed. Every human being has got all kinds of programs installed. So sometimes you say you are a Christian, but you lie, and you are wondering, where is this lie coming from? Lie was already installed in you. If there was no lie there, there's no way you will lie. Now, if you look at this person, what kind of human being and behavior would you expect from this person? Of course, a double-faced person, right? But that is what people will see. Nobody will see the damage that has been done. So this is what we do in therapy. We help people revisit all these damages and create a new meaning that can set them free and help them heal. And that's one of the things I'm going to be doing with many parents, who I'm going to be working with later this month. That you first need to heal. If you don't heal, you will damage your child. You will label your child. You will mess up your child, right? So you realize that this person needs help. If this person has a child, she's going to transfer hypocrisy, mediocrity, even though she can be praying. She can be a prayer warrior. She will transfer anger, disorderliness, lack of excellence to a child because that was what was transferred to her. So if we don't teach people to begin to unpack the damage that has been done, many of us are angry with our children, beating our children because we were beaten. So this is where it starts from. The question is, you are listening to me, how were you raised? How were you constructed? And have you fully healed from the trauma that your childhood imposed on you? Yes, you have a job, you drive a car, you can travel abroad, but deep down, are you happy? If you are not happy within you, there is no way you can raise a happy child. So, 3 questions I would like to ask. Who taught you about parenting? And I need someone to unmute himself or herself and answer that question on behalf of everyone. Who taught you about parenting? Who wants to answer?
No one. No one.
No one. No one taught you. Okay,
there was no template. It's just about
Nobody.
Nobody. Go.
Nobody. We just experiment with first child and see how it goes, and then look at others around. Nobody taught.
I love that thing you said, that you experiment with the first child. So something began to happen in Nigeria 7 years ago. I began to see meetings in the religious space called
nobody.
Destiny Recovery Meeting for Firstborn Children. I saw those meetings around churches. So I took my team, we went around those meetings to try and run a survey. We wanted to know if there were demons stealing the destiny of firstborn children, or the parents were the ones by themselves destroying the firstborn children. Now, so we went into those meetings and we ran the survey. Survey revealed that an average parent in those meetings never ever learned about parenting. They experimented with the first child. And you know that the specimen in an experimental lab never survived the experiment. So by the time the second child came, they have used the firstborn child to experiment parenting, and they've damaged that child. So they were the demons that stole the destiny, but they are looking for a demon that doesn't exist. So who taught you about parenting? Some people will say they are parents. Who taught your parents? Their parents' parents. Who taught the parents' parents' parents? You realize that the template that taught all of us is not a template that was proven. So we are all been experimenting, except for those of us who have stepped aside and let us go and study what works. Meanwhile, in Israel, every Jewish child, Jewish family, has known that parenting is a 14-year curriculum that is taught to every child. At the end of 14 years, they bring the child to the community and they conduct what they call the bat mitzvah, which is a ceremony where they say, this is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased, to say we have properly raised this child. Now, so let's say your parents taught you parenting. In whose culture were you taught? If you were Yoruba, you'll be taught in Yoruba. If you were Igbo, you'll be taught in Igbo. If you were Idoma, you'll be taught in Idoma. But what has been the report card of the culture that taught you? If you check global scheme of things, how many innovations do we produce? How many Igbos, how many Yorubas, how many Hausas, how many Nigerians really are in the global scheme of things making things happen? It shows us that something is fundamentally wrong with our parenting system and we need to change it. Now, Yoruba people, the philosophy about parenting is a child is a cloth that covers you. We put in our song, Omo lasho laye, Omo lasho. I mean, if you process that, how great can your child be if all your child does is to cover you? How great can your child be, right? What will be how many yards will be used so that your child will use if all your child does is to cover you? So you meanwhile, your child is not covering an entire city. It's not covering your state. It's not covering your nation. It's just covering you. And that's why women who don't have children see themselves as naked. And that's why you are seeing DNA paternity issues recently, because the society is forcing women to define their femininity or their womanhood by the ability to conceive. So they will have to do all kinds of things just to bring a child home, even when they are not sure how to raise the child. Consistently, people give birth. For 9 months, no plan on how to raise the child. No direction on who the child is or what they need to do. So we are raising a generation Z that is going in the direction of culture with proven results that is responsible we can interface with and use, which is innovation. Now, I want you to look at what I have put on the screen carefully, and I want you to read it quietly within you. Americans, Asians, Jews, and Arabs have a clear agenda to take over the world. So they spot the core potential of a child and educate a child without emotion to become a part of an indispensable race for our world. What that means is, if you go to China, you will see the Indian community. If you go to UK, you will see the Chinese community, Indian community. As a matter of fact, if you are a Chinese or you're an Indian and you get to Canada, there's a community that will give you money, that will settle you down, and you have 7 years to pay it back. Now, why? Because in India, they have what we call national values. And one of the core national values they have is the word that is called fraternity. That whatever you do against an Indian, you have done against the Indian race. That's why they collaborate. Japanese also have it. Japanese have a value called you never work alone, you work in groups. And that's why if you see a typical Japanese person, if you hire one, he's going to recommend his brother to you. If a Yoruba man is hired, most likely will not recommend his brother. What he's likely going to do is he will want to be rich so that he can be sorting his brother so that his brother can worship him. Now, it's not because he's wicked. That is the way he's been created. And I mean, that's the way he's been raised and groomed and structured. You even see it in our songs. A meaning number one, he wanted number two. We don't care what happens to others as long as we, myself and I, we are fine. That's the way we have been structured, and that is why we have not become very great. Now, we need to move back to the village concept, which I'll share later, that it takes a village to raise a child, but this new village is a new order of village, which I will explain to you. But you see, what the other tribe of the world are doing is that they observe a child and spot the core potential of the child, and they have created an educational system that can educate that child to become a part of an indispensable race for our world. But Africans, you know what we do? We educate a child to become independent, to be better than his mate. So when your child takes first position, you don't care to the child who has last position. So we are excited for our children to be better than their mates and good-natured, even if it means serving the others for the rest of their life. The script, therefore, is while some people will produce those that own the world, others will produce those that will serve those who own the world to create the world of their desire. If you check your desires and patterns, you will see this clear script. So what is happening globally right now? All the other tribes and races, they are scripting using the scripting system, which I will share with you briefly, to raise children. Africa is still groping. And I believe the people in this meeting, all of you, I'm going to be engaging you this month, 4 weeks, and I'm going to be helping you retrace your step, heal, and totally transform your life. Because if we don't do it as a group, you realize a new generation will rise and they will still face the same challenges that we are facing. Now, if you carefully understand Nigeria, you will see a particular race that has mastered the art of scripting, and that race is the Fulani race. Look at this guy, Sheikh Gumi. All of you know him. He's the guy who is negotiating every time they kidnap a child right now. Is the one that will likely be called to go and negotiate their release. Who is Sheikh Gumi? When the people began to talk about him, I went to study him out and research him, and this was what I found. Sheikh Gumi's father was a lawyer who became so influential many years ago in Nigeria that he was an associate of Sheikh Shagari and Ahmadu Bello. This guy was raised and scripted by his father, literally scripted to replace him. His first degree is in medicine. So for those of you who think Sheikh Gumi is an illiterate, no, his first degree was in medicine. But when he finished medicine, this guy joined Nigerian army after becoming a doctor. and rose to become a captain. Who leaves medical school to go and join army? That's how you know that these guys are scripts that has been intentionally created with the future in mind. The foolish can have a script for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, right? We are educated, we make a lot of noise, but we can't sustain a momentum. We can't even plan for 10 years. We can't plan for 20 years because we want it now. Follow what I'm sharing with you. Now, this guy retired or resigned from the Nigerian army. He moved to Saudi Arabia to further his Islamic education at Qura University, where he studied Islamic jurisprudence and backed a PhD. He came back to take charge of the Islamic father's machinery as an Islamic cleric. Today, he's negotiating. So, Sheikh Gumi, when people ask why him, he's not negotiating as a religious leader. He's negotiating as a religious leader, as a medical doctor, as a military man, as an academic, a PhD holder, and as an Islamic cleric. 5 cars. Now, if you check the trajectory of his life, you will realize that this guy is a script many years ago that is just unfolding. Right. So you are saying, what right does he have to be negotiating? You were not a script. All the qualities needed for that negotiation he had. Of course, we know that there's a back end gist to this, which I can't share with you, or which is not the bonus, but I'm just showing you how this guy scripts people. Sanusi Lamido Sanusi was in King's College. Form 1, he had a friend who was talking to me, one of my mentors, and he said one day the teacher came to class, and the teacher asked, what would you like to become in the future? When they got to my mentor, my mentor said he'd like to become an accountant. When they got to Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, he said, I would like to become Emir of Kano. When the teacher left, his friend called him and said, oh boy, how will you become Emir of Kano? What university will you study that? What course is that? You know what he said to that guy? That was what they asked me to say. So which means from Form 1, he was already a script who was sure of where he was going, while his friend wanted to become captains of industry. Now, all of them grew together. He went to study some course in some African country thereabout, came back, got into banking, got into CBN. When he became CBN governor, if you look at what he studied in 1st degree, 2nd degree, there was no way he should have become CBN governor, for crying out loud. So he got into banking, became CBN governor. When he began to have issues with Goodluck Jonathan, this is friend who they were in class together, become a pastor. He went to meet him and said, oh boy, if I say they won't sack you, can we pray together? You know what he said to him? I don't need the prayer of losing my job as CBN governor. If you want to pray for me, pray that I become Emir of Kano. Right. He ended up becoming Emir of Kano. He's been deposed like his father right now. We don't know what the next thing he wants to do. But this is another example of scripting going on. Question, what are you scripting your child for? Because there's a template for scripting a child. And that is what I'm going to be sharing with you because you need to master it. If you don't master it, and if we don't collaborate to do it together, right, you will realize I will be a victim of other people, and our children will rise up and they will still be complaining. The way some of us are complaining right now, the way some of our parents complain, oh, these people are ruling us. What have we done about it? Who are we scripting? Right? The new EFCC chairman, they script. Right? If you check his trajectory of his life, you would see they don't just do courses. They do courses intentionally. The same thing the Chinese. China has all kinds of people around the world. Their mission, look for intellectual property and bring it back to China. Those are the plans. How are you scripting your child? And that brings me to the question, who is a parent? Is a parent someone who can flog, someone who can yell, someone who can carry pregnancy, someone who can teach the word of God, or a sperm donor? Who is a parent really? Now, a parent is the word bring forth. That's the etymology of the word parenting because many people don't understand it. So which means parenting has nothing to do with ability to carry a child. That if you are listening to me and you take responsibility for any child around you, you are already a parent. The ultimate parent is that skilled scout. So your first job is a scout that is able to spot the identity of the arrow in his quiver. So your job is to discover. That's the first job, discovery. And intentionally groom and shoot in the direction of a predetermined target. That is development. In a way that the arrow consistently solves the problem it was designed to solve in service to God and humanity. That is deployment. So your job is threefold: discovery, development, and deploy. If you are not fulfilling those three roles, if you beat a child from now till tomorrow, you are not a parent. If you don't have the capacity to spot a child, spot the signal the child is sending, develop that signal, whether it aligns with your values or not, develop it and deploy that child, you are not fulfilling your role as a parent. And this is where a lot of people fail because the first role of a parent is scouting, observation. Unfortunately, not many of us can observe because the capacity to observe has been taken away from us. So a lot of us consistently, we can't observe our environment, we can't observe our children. So your child is asking questions. You don't know that your child has ferocious curiosity or is a genius. You are shouting him down. You talk too much, you talk too much, you talk too much. Excuse me, I am talking, and talk is no longer cheap. So having said that, I always say to parents that you can't raise a 21st century child with the mentality of an 18th century parent because every generation must be an improvement on the previous generation. What determines if we win or lose the battle for scripting a new generation is our light and our ignorance. That you can't pray parenting into you. I'm sorry, if you're a prayer warrior, I pray a lot, but you can't pray parenting him. You need to buy the truth. You don't need to sell it. You will know the truth. The truth will set you free. You can't pray mathematics. You have to learn the formula, right? So there's a formula for parenting that many of us need to master. I welcome you to the world of Generation Z and Generation Alpha, in case you still don't know who they are. Now, you see, many of us, like I said, we were Generation Y and Generation X. The children you are raising are Generation Z. And if you can see the diagram in front of you, it brings clarity to who they are, right? So if you look at it, the slant of Generation Z is farm, light, slave, yas queen, go. Imagine your child comes home and say, hey, daddy, you are a goat. You are a goat. You are likely going to slap him and say, you want to match a goat. Goat and things like that. But it simply means the greatest of all time, right? Those are their slang. You can see their social markers. And for Generation Z and Generation Alpha, you can see the iconic cars. This is the car they are going to be driving, Tesla Model S, autonomous vehicles. The iconic toys. You remember your own toys, Rubik's Cube, BMX bike. They are using folding screws and fidget spinner, right? In music, how many of you remember your Walkman in the boarding house? You had a Walkman. I can see everyone smiling. You had a Walkman. You were a big boy. But imagine if you carry Walkman up and down right now, nobody's going to listen to you because they now use Spotify and smart speakers. Now, in leadership style, what kind of parenting do they want? Our generation, our parents were controlling, directing, coordinating, and guiding. Their generation, they want empowering parents, inspiring parents. They want collaborators in their parenting, co-creators. Multimodal is the way they learn. The generation after them is virtual learning, right? They learn more from forums and chatbots, which is why you need to upgrade your parenting knowledge and parenting intelligence. Now, I'm going to tell you what you need to do. About 5 things you need to master and that you need to do. But before then, you need to understand that Generation Z, they have 4 peculiarities. Number 1, their identity is not defined in their quest for truth. They are very open-minded and they love to express individual truth. So if you are their parent, you must learn to manage perspective through the power of questioning. Never tell them things, right? If they come and ask you questions, what do you think? If they do something, ask questions. Don't take a position, right? What do you think and why? If you are a parent who engages your children that way, you will begin to find out the truth consistently and you're able to guide them aright. Number 2, they are radically inclusive and connecting to different truths. They understand everyone's style. That's why they don't judge Muslim, they don't judge Christian, they don't judge Aborisha, they don't judge gay, they don't judge straight. They want to collaborate. So what you need to do, you must blood them into an intentional tribal ideology that is built on love, equality, and fairness, but you need to leave room for the respect for others. So you can't tell them this person, oh, because of the religion it belongs to, is going to hellfire. They won't listen to you because they don't believe that. They want to ask, why would God send him to hellfire? You need to find answers. Number 3, this generation, they knew fewer confrontations and more dialogue. They seek to understand different truths. That's why they go online and do a lot of research. So you need to dialogue with them. Change must come from dialogue. You can't slap your truth on them. When I was growing up, my father's appetite determined what we ate. Now, my children, my appetite cannot determine what my children eat because many of the things I love to eat, they don't even like it at all, right? You can't force it down their throat. I am your parent. Whatever I give you is what? No. It's a different generation. And that's why we need to build formidability into them. Number 4, they are realistically pragmatic, looking for the truth behind all things and not giving up that cannot be proven. So you can't just say to them right now, God can heal you. They will ask you, God can heal everyone. Why come people still die of cancer? And they need answers. My son has asked me before, Daddy, can you bring God down right now? Let me take a selfie with God and go and show my friend. I didn't even know for a moment. I didn't know how to answer that question. So you need to show clear-cut results and enjoy their quest for research and ability to question all things. I have said that Generation Z and Alpha is that generation that God has sent to question everything we have believed. And as they question us, you will realize that many of the beliefs we have is not totally correct. They just slap it on us, and we also believe them. Now, is the birth of the new normal, which means loud and bold is the new right. Which is why there are so many erroneous conclusions right now that is online and on social media that a lot of vision people are doing. The Nigerian porn industry, for example, is already surpassing American porn industry in uploads. Nigerian porn industry is huge. Please, can you mute yourself if you are not? Please, can you do that? Now, loud and bold is the new right. The porn industry in Nigeria has become very huge. Very, very huge right now that I am worried at the rate of upload. From teenagers to preteens to all kinds of things happening. And I'm wondering what is Nigerian government doing? Because when I started researching porn in the year 2004, there was no single Nigerian face online that does porn. Now it's in thousands and millions of uploads. And that's one of the fastest growing industry in Nigeria. So you can see the old school and the new school. The old school says that a virgin is a lady whose hymen is intact. The new school, several generations Z and Y, with intact hymen, they are performing blowjobs. Some of them university students, 16 years, 17-year-old, they are performing blowjob for 25,000 in Lagos Island and VI, right? And their hymen is intact. So when they come to church and you say, if you are a virgin, raise up your hand, they are raising their hand in intact hymen. But are they virgins, right? Our generation, fornication is when penis enters vagina. How do you define phone sex, sexting, cyber sex, porn sex, lap sex, which doesn't involve penetration? How do you define these things, right? Old school, to curb drug abuse, let us ban the importation of tramadol. That was what federal government did. What about other sources of high, like tea bags, mixture, tom and drinks, and lacacera that can also get them high? What about this one? LGBT is a no-no, and those who don't belong to our religion are going to hell. The younger generation will ask you, but their sexuality has not affected their competence. And why would God send other religions to hell when he created them and claims he's the God of love? These are questions they are asking. Are you having answers for this? Generation Z are the children in your hand. They are in search of who they truly are, in the midst of all sorts of contradictory information that is easily accessible online, which often make them come across as a misbehaving generation. That's why I'm going to appeal to you. You cannot be a Generation Z teacher without first of all becoming a student. You need to understand that the old rules no longer work. You need to embrace the new rules and master how to domesticate them. Now, you need to pity these children. When we were growing up, there was no internet. For you to watch pornography, it's either you hire blue film or you peep, and there's always one auntie and one brother in every location that you are peeping to see what they are doing. Or that magazine, if you are 40 and above, called Dowda the Sexy Guy, then Bella and Lulu and Lolly. That was what we read. Or later generation read Int and Art and the Better Lover and the rest of them, right? But this generation, on a click, they have access to everything and everything. Now you need to understand every misbehavior is either a non-discovery of self or a non-remembrance of self. Their identity is under threat, and that's what the society is targeting. The music world question their identity. The LGBT is telling them, you know what, you can call yourself whatever you like. Don't assign gender again. Everybody is saying whatever, right? But this generation is trouble. And you as a parent, you need to become more skilled at effectively parenting and helping your children to get to where they need to get to. Now, when we understand this, we will do what we can to ensure a child's identity and esteem is not compromised. So, with all that I have said, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? Number one, you need to first do what we call a personal heritage audit. I will give you clues on how to do that. A personal heritage audit. What is that? I have discovered in my research that every global icon and everyone that successfully raised a child, they all have a particular heritage. Now, what is common in your heritage? You need to look back. Go your grandfather, your great-grandfather. What is common? If you check Bill Gates' heritage, they are pioneers. They are pioneers and they are leaders and they are innovators. All from his father, who was in banking, his mother was a financial person, the father was a lawyer. They were not just ordinary lawyers and ordinary finance people. That was why his mother, Bill Gates, had leverage. His mother secured $1 million loan for him when he was starting out, right? So that was their heritage. Elon Musk, they are also pioneers. His father was the first to fly a jet plane from South Africa to Australia. The father was the first. The mother was the first to do some kind of modeling or something in South Africa, right? So you need to check your personal heritage audit to say, who are we? If you lack identity and you don't know what exists in your heritage, you won't know what to transfer to your children. Some of you are kings, but because your parents handled you badly, you cannot pass royalty to your children. So you need to check your personal heritage audit. Are you a pioneer? Is your family, is your generation genealogy connectors? Are you managers? Are you marketers? Who are you? If you check the Anikulapo's, right, the Ransom Putis, they are activists. You can see from their father, Reverend Ransom Kuti, and their mother, Mrs. Fumi Ransom Kuti, to Fela, to Femi Kuti, to Sheung Kuti, now to Mide Kuti, about the 5th generation. The same template, right? Number 2 in there, what could have been that wasn't with you and what went wrong? Who could you have been if your parents knew better? What could you have become if your parents knew better? And so you need to check your roadmap analysis. And how do you do that? Can you look for 5 people that knew you before the age of 5 and ask them if they remember anything about you? What do they remember? Write down everything they say. Look for another 5 that knew you from ages 6 to 10. Repeat the same assignment. Look for another 5 that knew you from ages 11 to 16. Repeat the same process from 17 to 21. Repeat it. 22 to 30. Repeat it. 31 to 40. Repeat it. And 41 to your age. Repeat it. It will show you a clear pattern. It will show you something that has gone wrong, and you will see where it went wrong. Right? That your life is a progression, but something happened at some point in time. That is roadmap analysis. Now, what is our parenting alignment charter? One of the greatest crises in parenting is husband and wife are not aligned in the parenting template they want to use. So daddy wants to parent in a particular way, mommy wants to parent in another particular way. So inside the family, there's PDP and APC, and they are not together. So they sabotage themselves. When children want ice cream, they know daddy will say no, mommy will say yes. Meanwhile, daddy and mommy have to say no, no. If they say yes, it must be yes, yes. So children begin to feel daddy hates us, mommy loves us. So when we want to get away with anything, let's go and tell mommy, right? So mommy begins to work against daddy to create a bigger problem within the family. So what is our parenting alignment charter? If you don't have that charter, you and your husband may likely be sabotaging the best interest of your children. You need to come together and create it. Number 4, in personal heritage audit, what virus exists that must never be passed on? All of us have virus in us that exists that we must never pass to our children. Some of us are already passing it. Some of this virus includes disorderliness. If your home is disorderly, your parents must have passed it to you. You are already passing it to your children. You say your children don't lay their bed. Do you lay your bed? Right? We are passing mediocrity. We are passing low self-esteem. We are passing anger, shouting to correct people. We are passing frowning because your children are learning by what they see you do. Right? So what virus exists? Can you pause and list the things that exist in you right now that you yourself know is not right? You don't like, but you're already passing to your children. You are already installing virus inside of them that was passed to you. And the last thing there is healing. You need to go through healing, emotional healing from the trauma, the pain of your past, the pain that happened when your father brought in another wife, the pain of losing everything you guys are. You need to heal. The pain of your husband cheating on you, the pain of someone molesting you, or the rape that you went through, you need to heal. That's the first thing we need to do in our quest to understand the science of scripting a genius. Because if you don't heal, you will pass pain to your children. Number 2 is the child discovery and road mapping matrix. You need to discover your child and create a road mapping matrix. What does that mean? Number 1, you need to observe your child. So for example, if you have a child, a girl child who is 12 years old, you get into her room and you see her, she's sleeping with her 2 legs to the wall. How will you interpret that? Now, most likely you will say she don't go meeting. She has joined witches and wizards. Where did you learn that from? You have been watching bad movies. Koto Oru, Koto Aye, Abija. If you are a Yoruba speaking person, those are the bad movies we saw growing up. Aya Matanga. Those are the things you are interpreting. Now, meanwhile, there is nothing wrong with somebody, you know, putting, it may be a sleeping part. In fact, there's a science that says when you put your legs on the wall 30 minutes in a day and you lie down, it circulates blood flow and it brings healing faster into your body. Now, there's a research to back that up. But when you observe, when you don't observe, you take a position and you label a child. So you need to learn to observe in discovering your child and creating a road mapping matrix, because you need to road map where your child needs to go. Number 2, you need to create a perceptual code. A perceptual code is a descriptive word that defines who your child is and how you will handle that child. So for example, if you say my child is a royalty, no matter what that child does, it remains a royalty. No matter your anger, you need to ask, how do we treat royalties? How do we correct royalties? How should we negotiate with royalty? Do we slap royalty, yell on royalty, or we negotiate, or we speak to the essence of the royalty? You need to create a perceptual code. Every child in your family must have a perceptual code. What that means is, so when I see my daughter, she's a genius, that's a perceptual code. My son is a king. So when my son does something I don't like, or I think it's not right, I'm asking David, who are you? That's the first question I ask, right? So why did you do it? Do kings do that? So next time, how will you handle this? So that is a perceptual code. Number 3, you need to create a child scripting using user's manual elicitation. A user's manual is a document that describes everything about your child, like a typical user's manual. When my phone came, it came with a user's manual. So it's the same way, you must have a clear user's manual for your child. So when my children were going to change school, I went to their school, met with their teacher, showed them a copy of the user's manual. The user's manual of your child contains the name of your child, the brand promise of your child, the description of your child, the qualities of your child, the talents your child contains, the frequently misconstrued things about your child that's not correct. So for example, the frequently asked questions can be, is my child rude? Your answer must be there. David is not rude. David is just a very inquisitive soul who will always ask questions about everything. Because schools can begin to label your child and mess up your child for you. So you need to create an explicit user's manual, right? You and your wife, you look at it. If you read your child's user's manual, number 1, it builds respect for your child. Number 2, it helps you preserve the ferocious curiosity of your child. Number 3, it helps you raise a child without anger and tantrum. So you need to create your user's manual elicitation. Now, it's one of the things I'm going to be doing with you later in the month in one of the classes where you will create your child's user's manual. Number 4, ferocious curiosity preservation using the student's approach. That one, you can do it right away. Henceforth, when your child does something, don't take a position. Observe as a student that wants to learn. If you observe as a student that wants to learn, you will begin to discover something new that you have never seen before. Why? Because you are humble. To understand. The word understanding means standing under. You can't understand a child by standing on top of him. By standing with him, you understand a child by stooping, standing under him. To say, why? What do I have to learn here? And when you learn to engage your child, you realize that you will not get angry and beat a child the way many of us are beating our children as if we're going to injure them. Number 3, research, embrace, and replicate a template that works. Research, embrace, and replicate a template that works. I can give you the template that was used to raise Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Bezos, what's the name, the founder of Apple. You know, I can show you all those templates, right? So you need to find out, we call this the forerunner approach. There is somebody in history who is very similar to what your child is exhibiting. You need to research it. A forerunner can be someone who is coming to pioneer something new, can be someone who is coming to sustain what someone started, or can be a finisher of what someone started. Obama had a forerunner in Martin Luther King Jr., right? JF Kennedy was a forerunner to Bill Clinton, right? So you can have forerunners. So what has worked? You need to find out wherever you can find it, right? I have studied the Japanese culture, studied the Indian culture to parenting, studied the Jewish approach to parenting, studied all kinds of culture. Now I have studied the African system within the last 3 years of my life, and what I'm finding is eye-opening for me. So what has worked? How did it work? Why did it work? How can we replicate? And who is your child forerunner? So that's what you do. That's why research is very critical. We cannot continue to sit down and be praying alone and be hoping alone. Africa has been praying forever. There are nations who don't gather to pray as much as we pray, but they have results. Why? Because the thoughts in your heart are prayers. Your actions are prayers. The words of your mouth are prayers. The only thing we do as Africans is words. We never act in line with the prayer. We never think about what we want to achieve. So you need to understand this model to go back and begin to research and embrace. It may contradict everything you believe. Question is, does it have results? Is it ecological? Is it value-oriented? Then embrace it, apply it, and you will see it work. Now, within 4 weeks, I'm going to be working with each and every one of you on what you need to do every week, and you will see the results. Then we'll come back and we'll review it together. Number 4, as I begin to round up, you need to create the new village tribal ideology setting. You have heard that it takes a village to raise a child. Now, that adage has changed a little bit. Now, it takes a village to raise a child where the village is in consonance with the best interest of your child. I cannot take my child back to my village now. They're going to make, by the time he returns, he will be speaking dialect. He will have tribal man, right? He would have been worse than who he should be, right? But what that adage is saying is that you can create a new village now. All of us in this meeting, for example, can choose to become a village today. We can choose, and that's what I intend to do. In 4 weeks with us, you are going to learn how to create a village. We're going to become a village, work together, support one another, ensure that nobody gets angry again in parenting. That's something I do for parents. After 1 month, their children are touching them to say, Mommy, why are you are no longer beating me? You are no longer shouting. Are you sick? Is everything okay? Mommy, is everything well? These are results that we must begin to have, right? So you can create your village. You can gather 7 different families and come together and say, you know what, guys, let us create our village, which means if one of us is traveling, your children can be with me and we know they are safe. Why? Because we have similar values. Now, in creating a village, the first thing you need to understand, you need to clearly articulate and define who you are. It's called the family governing system, wherein you need to be clear about your family vision. What is your family vision? If you are listening to me today, and I ask you and your wife to write the vision of your family, and you can't write the same thing word for word, then you have no family vision, right? So who are we must be clear. Number 2, so after family vision, you need family values. Then you need what we call the legends of your family and the DNA codes of your family. Then what gaps exist? What are the skills we don't have that is required for us to create this village? Number 3, who must we become? Right? This is where the work is. Many of us know who we want our children to be, but we don't know who we need to become. And I'll share with you the roles you need to play and the different milestones in the life of your child. Number 4, what new culture must we create? Right? That is the family system. In that family system, there's what we call the family governing system, There's what we call the domestic management system, which is the system that governs how everything is arranged in your house. There is a family economic system, which governs how you need to save and invest for the future of your children in case your child wants to go to Harvard. There's what we call the family immigration system, which governs who can work in your house, who can come to your house. If they are coming to live of one way, what do you take them through? What orientation must you take them through? Do they just come and bring their values and upset your peace? It must include your domestic educational system. Beyond the school education, my family has an educational system. Education is created the moment you answer the question, who do we want our citizens to be? And how do we want them to think? Nigeria did not ask those two questions before they created the educational system we have, right? So that is why we offer what we call subject. The goal of subject is to subject you to become subjected to what you are subjected to, which basically means is to condition you and brainwash you, not really mess you up, brainwash you to act in a particular manner. That's why if you are going to work in the UK, there are courses you need to take. Work in Canada, there are certifications you need to take. To say what you have in Nigeria is not enough, you need to take this one to understand our way. So, if the world is creating a script messing up children, you need to create a domestic educational system for your own family. Now, there's a way to create that. I can teach you, right? Such that you now have your own curriculum that can produce a predetermined end. Boko Haram, ISIS, they have their curriculum for radicalization. That's why I laugh. When Nigeria says they radicalize ex-Boko Haram, there's no way you can do that in 2 years, right? Because you now need to create a counter curriculum, which is very tough to do. But I'm going to show you how to do that. So your family needs a new culture that can now birth a new village. And number 5, that takes me to number 5, which is sin identification and casting. To raise a genius, you need to know your role and collaborate with your children to win. What does that mean? Your job as a parent is to be a scout from ages 0 to 3, right? Once you have a child who is less than 3, your job is not to beat him, to yell, to scream. No, your job is a scout. Observation. What is this child showing? What is he exhibiting? How do we interpret this? So he's playing with water. Is he a swimmer? Is he an oceanographer, right? Not, you say it's mommy water, let us do deliverance for him. No, observation. From ages 4 to 6, you are a model. If you don't want your child to be disorganized, you need to model organization from ages 4 to 6. You need to model competence. You need to model excellence. Now from ages 7 to 9, you are an instructor. That is where you use your family educational system, educational curriculum. Right? From ages 7 to 9, you are an instructor. You teach your child everything that surrounds what you observe from ages 0 to 3. From ages 10 to 12, that is the age a lot of parents lose their children to best friend, to peer pressure. Your job is to be a friend. That is the era where you don't shout, scream on your child because you are bestowed. You seek to understand. They talk to you, confide in you, and you don't judge. Right? You befriend them from 10 to 12. From 13 to 18, you are a coach. A coach does not impose. A coach helps a child create strategy, right? And create perspective and guide a child to take a decision. Because you cannot be taking decision for them forever. A lot of parents make mistake here. They take decision. By the time the child leaves the house, it becomes something else. You coach. So every parent must learn the coaching methodology. If your child is within the age range of 13 to 18, you deploy quizzing. So why? Right? Because you are balancing perspective. From age 19, you are a cheerleader and you are an advisor. Because parenting is an 18-year curriculum, what happens from age 19 is your report card. Now, let me tidy this up by saying to you that parenting a genius is not just a prayer battle again or individual parenting. No. That I alone, no, your child is going to live in a larger society. It's now a battle of systems intelligence and tribal ideology, which the stronger and the most desirable will win. I could have become a gambler. I was going to start gambling. I entered the casino. A man looked at me, who was my father's friend. I said, "What are you doing here? Are you not Fowowe's son?" I said, "Yeah." Say, "Your father does not come to a place like this. Go home." I had to cry home because I'm a Yoruba boy. What he said basically was I was behaving like a bastard. So you need to understand that there are systems fighting you. there's the media parent, there's the LGBT system, there's all kinds of parents challenging your competence, challenging everything you know. So you need a counter system, because individuals cannot defeat system. It takes a superior system to defeat an existing, and that's why we all need to work together to ensure we create this if you truly love your child. Children are not things to be modeled. They are people to be unfolded. This is a statement by Jeslar. And it takes a village, once again, to raise a child. Where is your village? And who make up your village? Because like I said, you now need to create your own village and determine what type of village you want to raise your child. Is it an ICT village? Is it a competent village? Is it a genius village? Is it a serious village? You need to create it. Now, as I round up, I want you to close your eyes for a moment. And I want you to imagine your child's graduation from the university. Let's say your child is 19 or 21. I want you to visualize, see your child graduating at the top of his class as the best graduating student. You have gone to attend his graduation ceremony, maybe in Harvard or Yale or OAU or wherever. How do you feel seeing your child being glowingly spoken about by the faculty as the most competent and the most intelligent in his generation? How does that make you feel as a parent? Imagine how much you have spent to get your child to that stage. Calculate what you spent from nursery to primary to university, especially if your child went to Harvard. And look at your child as he's graduating and receiving the honors. As you are visualizing that image in your mind, I want you to ask yourself a simple question. Having spent so much, having sacrificed so much, some of you literally died to raise a child like this. Would you want a child that becomes influenced by others or an influencer? Would you want that your child to be influenced by systems that messes him up? Or you want your child to be a system owner who determines what happens? What outcome do you really want? I want you to open your eyes. As you are looking at me, if you go online now and Google what will happen to the world in the year 2072, you will be shocked at the information you have. If you check what will happen in the world in 2080, there is information already. If you check what will happen to our world in 2090, the technology that will be used, there is information. Question, who are the people putting in information? And what are we saying? Africa is bogged down by 12-month calendar, annual declaration. The whole world, the rest of the world, is bogged down by generational declaration. Elon Musk says the time we're going to go to Mars. The king of Dubai said by 2117, there will be an estate in Mars. By UAE, immediately appointed the minister in charge of the future. Africa can sink you. And we can be at the receiving end if we do nothing. And that's the essence of this session, because I worry. In fact, there's a projection that a part of Africa will become uninhabited by 2035. Right? What are we doing? Are we going to say we are powerless, or we are going to create a future together? I want parents who have a 25-year plan, 30-year plan for their life, for their generation. That's what we need to begin to see. The population index that was released last year, out of the 12 worst countries to live in, Africa was first 11. African countries occupy number 1 to 11. There was one other country that is not Africa out of the top worst 12. Guys, we need to do something, because the most important nation on earth is your family. Question before I round up. I'll take your questions. If you have questions, you can put it in the chat box. I'll take all your questions, because thank God we come and take a session now, and we'll take sessions together. What will you be willing to do? And do you truly want to raise a genius? It's a question I always ask parents. I mean, the last 1 year, I've had a lot of parents come to me, come and coach my child. It's pretty expensive to coach a child. I mean, the minimum I do is about $1,000. Very expensive for many people because it will take about 13 weeks of my life of working, running programs, discovering. And I said to them, it's cheaper for you to do it yourself if you understand how. But you know what they tell me? Praise, we don't have time. And I wonder, why do you bring the child into this world when you don't have time?
I will beat you.
Don't beat him, please. Who you become when you raise your child is more important than even the child you are raising, because there is something your child development is supposed to teach you. So if you become you will learn scouting before age 3. You will learn modeling before age 6. You will learn to be an instructor before age 9. You will learn how to be a friend before age 12. You will learn how to be a coach before age 18. And you'll be a cheerleader from age 19. So let me invite you at this junction to the new rules of parenting class that we have, starting from 28th of March. It will run 28th of March, 4th of March, 11th of March, and 18th of March. 4 intensive weeks in class. It's a session you don't want to miss at all, right? Everything, we're going to be breaking it down. You will learn how to create your child Jesus manual. You will learn how to heal by yourself, and you will learn how to totally transform your reality. We will form clans in a village, and the clans will work together to say, so we can have a clan of 11. You work together and ensure nobody gets angry with a child in 1 week. You begin to learn how to parent with joy. You will discuss, check notes, see what you guys are doing, and collaborate to ensure that everybody does what they have to do. Because we want to see clear results every week and monitor what you guys are doing, right? It's a class that you need to attend. This class costs $180, which is about 85,000 naira, right? But what I have decided to do, if you are in class today, you can pay, my team says, I mean, we agree 65, but if you are paying today, if you are paying for this class today, I'll give you a 50K. I'll give you a 50K, right? So you can click on the link if you're paying 50K and attend this class. Now, in case you need help, right? Maybe what works for you is you want to spread it and pay an installment. There's another link there. So you want to be part of the instrumental payment. I mean, for me, one thing I've said to myself and I said to my team is, we need to teach Africans once again to be trustworthy. So the class is not, so if you say you want to pay across 3 installments or something, we'll make it happen for you and give you the permission to do that. But make sure that you keep your word, right? That was how Jack Ma revolutionized China. They will give them goods for free. And so you want to pay back in 3 months or 2 months, go ahead and do it. But remember that if you default, it affects the next person. This is something I believe we need to support one another to get the right result, right? If that's all I can do for you, I'll be willing to do it. Sometimes I wish I could do it for free, right? So if I would really, really want everyone here to join that class. So if you want to do instrumental payment, you can click on the link for instrumental payment, participant assisted program. But if you want to pay today, right, you can pay a one-time offer of 50,000. And but if you're not paying today, I will allow you for being in this class to do 65,000. After that, it goes back to the original price, which is what everyone who's not in this class is going to pay. Guys, go there, click on the link. We can do this together. We can transform. They put a link in the chat box. Go ahead, let's do it. I'm willing to support you, teach you everything I know. If you know what my life used to be like and what I do right now across different nations, I am humbled and privileged to have done this research. And I think we can help you to begin to raise geniuses once again. A man who goes to battle that requires a gun with a cutlass has already lost the battle. Will you stick to old rules, or will you change to the new rules of parenting to win this parenting battle? Thank you very much. I want you to know that I appreciate you, and thanks for listening to me. Now, if you have questions, I will take your questions because thank God they're supposed to take us through child psychology because of mental health. The mental state of your child in about 30 minutes. I think we should just allow him roll so that we can come back and take all your questions together. So Ebu, you can collect the questions and we'll take them together. Don't worry, we'll waste your time. But please go ahead, register right now, take the one-time offer, or if you want a spread payment, I want everyone to actually take advantage of that. Let's know how we can support you to take this course. The more of us, those of us who know it, the more we can create a better village, and we can create our own systems and support our children to become the best version of themselves. That is my commitment to you, and that's my commitment to my God and to myself. Together, we can transform our world together. Thank you very much. God bless you. Over to you, Ebon.
Oh, wow. That was mind-blowing, PF. Thank you so much. As usual, you blew my mind. It's as if I've not heard some of those things before. And I want to believe that everybody listening, you are able to grasp one thing or the other. In fact, everything, because it was well articulated. Thank you so much, PF. And so we have no system-driven approach, and we need to learn it. Our parents, you know, they just use what they know. It's not their fault, but they did everything they did with the level of information they have, and we don't want to do that. You have heard about how Boko Haram's are recruiting and grooming their own children, and we want to have a better society in the future so that when we grow old, we are at peace. And you already heard everything, the course that is coming up by the end of this month. I'm sure every one of you are clicking on the link to register. This is for the future. Your own future is now, but you have to do this for your children's future. Thank you so much, PF. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. And without wasting our time, I want to invite, thank God, Ocheho. He is a child psychologist and a mental health and psychosocial support specialist with specific focus on children. He has provided mental health and psychosocial support to individuals, especially children in schools, religious organizations, and in corporate environments. Thank God currently is working with NIM Foundation as a psychologist, providing mental health and psychosocial support services to children survivors of the insurgents in the northeastern part of Nigeria, and also designing programs to prevent and counter violent extremism. Please welcome with me, thank God, Ocheho, as take us through the psychology of a child. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have the mic. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Can you hear me, everyone? Good evening.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. PF, thank you so much. I'll just go straight to what I have to present this evening, and basically is on child psychology, which I think is a very important concept every one of us need to understand, because there's a science to raising children. And the moment we understand the science behind it, it helps us to be able to understand the things that we need to do, because human behavior is predictable. And that's very important for us to be able to know. You can determine the future, like PF said, by understanding the science, of raising children. And what I'm going to be emphasizing today is basically understanding the psychology of children, understanding the psychology of children. Now, most of us are familiar with the traffic light. When we look at the traffic lights, there is the red sign or the red signal that tells us to stop. And also there's the green sign that tells us to, you can move forward. So the same thing when it comes to raising children, there are certain things that we are doing that we need to stop. And there are certain things that we are doing that we need to continue. And that is going to be the emphasis of my class today. I want us to be able to look at what are those behaviors that we need to stop, and what are those behaviors that we need to continue, so that we can properly raise our children in a way that is very much predictable. Now, can you see my slide? Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so the emphasis is on understanding child psychology. And I'm just going to, like I said, I'm going to rush through so that we'll be able to have some few minutes to ask questions. Now, when we look at the concept of psychology, there is this part that quite a number of us might be familiar with, and some of us are not familiar with it. We talked about human behavior, which is the overt, such as reading, playing, aggression. These are behaviors that you can see, but there is this other part that is the covert, which has to do with your mental processes. That's the part that you cannot see, such as your thinking, your imagination, and even your emotion. So when it comes to child psychology, we are simply talking about how children think, how they behave. So what is going on in the mind of a child? Do you understand the science behind it? The science behind the thinking of an infant, the science behind the thinking of a toddler? Do you understand it? Also, do you understand the behavior or the science behind the behavior of an infant, the science behind the behavior, of a toddler, of a preschooler, a grade schooler, and a teenager? Now, the moment you understand the science behind this, it helps you as parents, caregivers, and teachers to create the environment that will predict their behavior, and you can also determine what you want them to become. Because there is a point in the child life that you can condition their behavior, but also there's a higher level of functioning where you can begin to raise them in a way where their cognitive processes is beginning to determine the action that they take, and they are not living based on conditioning. And that's some of the things that we're going to be sharing in the class that we're going to be having. Now, one of the things I also want us to understand, even as parents, as teachers, is that parenting is not just about focusing on their character or character development. It cuts across this domain, which has to do with physical, cognitive, social, emotional, and even moral. Remember this particular child, when he was 12 years old, after he got to that point, when his father took him to the temple, that's Jesus, he said, and the child thrives and flourishes in wisdom, in stature, and in favor with God and man. You can see that the parenting cuts across these levels of development. And we need to also understand the concept when it comes to the point in which we are raising our children, that we are not just focusing on one aspect of development, that we need to understand the science of child development when it comes to physical development, cognitive development, social development, and also emotional development. So, but again, we also need to understand the new rules of parenting. Now, most of us, when we try to raise children, we tend to use the same strategy for an infant, the same strategy we use for an infant, we use for a toddler, we use for a preschooler, we use for a grade scholar, or for teenager. Now, let me tell you, each stage of development, there are peculiar behavior that children express. For instance, there are behavior that infants will express that are part of their normal development. If you don't understand this behavior, you will create an environment that will frustrate their functioning. For instance, an infant normal behavior such as crying is part of the infant normal behavior, because at that point, the reason why they cry a lot is because they have not been able to communicate in plain language. So whenever they are uncomfortable or something is wrong, or when they are hungry, the only way they can express their feeling is to cry. But if you don't understand it, you will beat them, you will flog them, you will get frustrated, and as a result, you are creating a gap in their heart. That is why some of them grow up and they are wounded, because of the things we do during their childhood. So each stage of development, there are peculiar behaviors. And these are the things that we're going to be sharing in class, to be able to understand at the infant level, what are the behaviors that are peculiar, so that we can adapt our parenting strategies to the behavior. At the toddlerhood level, what are the behaviors that are peculiar to toddlers, so that we can adapt our parenting strategy to that level? Same thing with preschooler, grade scholar, and teenager. If you don't know this, you will be using the strategy that is meant to raise an infant, you'll be using it for a toddler. The same way you'll be using the strategy that is meant for a toddler, you'll be using for a preschooler. So we need to understand each strategy at each level so that it can help us. So I will just quickly run over when it comes to parenting. Now, I said that you parent them at different levels or different domains. And the first one I want to look at is parenting for cognitive development. How do you parent a child so that they can improve and increase or flourish cognitively? And when we talk about cognitive development, I'm talking about mental development. How do you raise a child so that the child can improve mentally? Listen, it is not only the responsibility of the school to help the child to develop mentally. You as parents and caregivers can also help the child. But what do you need to do? Because you cannot give what you don't have. If you don't know what you need to do, the kind of environment you need to create that will help the child develop mentally, you will create an environment that will frustrate their mental development. And at the long run, you say this child is dull. This child cannot take initiative. This child is not proactive. Why would the child be proactive when you didn't set the foundation. Now, some of us believe in this concept that we call tabula rasa. We say our children born with a blank slate. And I'm asking us the same question. Do you believe in the concept of tabula rasa? The truth is this concept was developed by John Locke. But unfortunately, researchers have come up to find out that children were not born as blank slates. The moment a child is born, you realize that even before they were born, children can hear while they are in the womb. I can tell you this, a practical experience. I was having a session with a child, and the child told me, because the parents were having issues with domestic violence, and the child told me that when he was in the womb, that he heard his father fighting. Now, if I did not understand this concept before, I would have said it's a lie. And I said, how do you know? He said he just heard, but he didn't understand the concept fully until when he was born and he asked his elder brother, and his elder brother said it was true. You understand? Now, when children are born, they are also born with reflexes. So they are not born as blank slate. They are born with reflexes, and these reflexes help them to be able to adapt to the environment. If you go online and Google, why are the Jews so smart? It's an article that was written by somebody who did his PhD. You will realize that they gave a scientific empirical evidence on how you can start predicting the future and the behavior of children even while they are in the womb. So parenting does not even begin the moment the child is born. Parenting begins the moment the child is conceived. So we must be able to understand this concept. There are certain food you need to eat that will help the brain to develop. There are certain things you need to eat that's why I see when you live certain lifestyle, even from the womb, there's some developmental disorder take place because of the way we live. And when the child is born, he expresses some developmental disorder. So we must be able to understand this concept. The question again is this: in terms of mental development, how do infants learn? You need to also understand, how do they learn? The way infant learn is different from the way a toddler learn, is different from the way the preschooler learn, so that you can understand this concept and create an environment that will help them to function effectively. Infants learn through their 5 senses. We call it the sensory-motor approach. They learn through their senses, through the sense of touch, the sense of sight, the sense of smell, taste. Now, do you understand that? Have you observed infants carefully, that they like to put things in their mouth? They are not just doing that because they just want to do that. It's part of their developmental process. And as they are putting things in their mouth, they are trying to explore the environment, to understand the texture of the things that are in their mouth. Their senses are connected to their brain, which means that whatever they see, whatever they hear, whatever they feel or touch or smell, it's connected to their brain and impact on their brain development. So what do you need to do as parent, caregiver, and teacher? You need to create an environment that will impact on their 5 senses, that will stimulate their 5 senses and also impact on their brain development. When you get to school, you see, for instance, you can meet there, you will see this kind of, this stage of, this level of children in the crèche. You see the kind of environment that is created. If you want to know a crèche that understands this concept, go to the crèche and see the kind of environment that is created. How do they create the environment to stimulate their senses, the sense of sight? How do they create the environment to stimulate the sense of sound? And you know, at this stage, children, infants are more motivated to sound than what they see. That is why when they are looking at certain things and there is a sound, they are distracted because they are more sensitive to sound. Because even while they are in the womb, they have started hearing before they start seeing. When a child is born, the vision, the sight to see has not yet been developed, but the ability to hear and the voice that appeals to the infant is the mother voice. So we need to be able to understand all of this concept so that we can create an environment that will help us to be able to impact on their cognitive development. When it also comes to preferential looking, we need to understand that what they see also impact on their brain development. So infant is beginning to develop preferential looking. For instance, have you realized that infants prefer to look at human faces than to look at trees or animals? So when you give them book and the book contains human faces, they are more motivated than when you give book that contain animal, trees, or something else. So that is which means that at that point they are beginning to develop what we call preferential looking. Also, children, babies are more motivated to bright colors than any form of color, color that are face colors or any other colors. But most importantly, among the bright color, they are more motivated to red colors. Red colors appeal to them. That is why in the toys industry, they are beginning to put a touch of red colors in what they design. And you need to understand this concept because a lot of us, we just assume when you give birth to a girl child, it's pink colors. When you give birth to a boy child, it's blue colors. So we design the nursery, we design everything with such color without questioning, without doing research to be able to understand this concept. I did this research recently with some parents, and we realized that the highest number that of infants or children that were motivated to red color was higher than any other colors. So it was just to validate there's several research that have been done in that area, and we need to understand how this works. So even younger infants look longer than older infants. Do we understand that also? Also, I said earlier that infants pay more attention to sound than they do to what they see. And one of the things we need to also understand, which also impact on brain development or cognitive development, is the concept of egocentrism. Now, children are egocentric, especially before they get to the age of 3. What do I mean? They don't see things from your perspective. That is why you always fly and say you think they don't reason. Toddlers cannot reason with you logically. It is a waste of time to put a toddler down and be reasoning with you. They can't do that because they only see things from their perspective. They have not developed the capacity to see things from your perspective. But when they begin to develop that capacity, you need to help them to begin to see it so that they don't go into adulthood. They become so egocentric that they don't see things from people's perspective. It's the kind of environment you create that will determine how they're going to function. And in this in the class that we'll be having the next 4 weeks, we'll be going deep into that to be able to understand. Also, curiosity is a gift. It's something that is inbuilt in every child, part of their development. That curiosity is put in them so that they can be able to explore their world, and it helps them to develop cognitively. Parents who help children to fulfill their curiosity realize that they are raising children who are more intelligent than parents who shut them down. I think PF emphasized that earlier on. So this is something that also we're going to emphasize, looking at the science of how you can create the environment for them to be curious, for them to solve problems. You realize that infants are little scientists, toddlers are little scientists. They keep doing different things. If you allow them with your supervision, you are helping them to build that tenacity. They fail, they try again. They fail, they try again. But once you begin to flog them, distract them, and frustrate the effort that they are making to solve problems, you see that most of them go into their shell. They develop anxiety, depression, and they begin to have low self-esteem because they believe that when they were trying to do things, the parent did not create an environment that is tolerant of failure. We want to create a perfect child, whereas we are not living in a perfect world. We stigmatize mistake. We flog children for making mistakes. And as a result of that, the children are growing with low self-esteem. They are not confident of themselves. And we are wondering, why is this person having low self-esteem in adulthood? They are going to have low self-esteem because when they were trying to do that, we frustrated. Listen, from infancy to toddlerhood is a major foundation in the development of child that can predict what they will become in adulthood. That is why when the foundation of a building is not strong, you can predict the end of the building. So also when the foundation of child development is not strong and solid, you can predict later development, except there is something happen again and there is an immediate transformation that takes place. But again, in cognitive development, there is a movement from simple to complex thinking. And I can tell you the science behind it. How infant think, how pre-scholar think, how toddler think, grade scholar think, and also teenager think. But there's no time for that. In the class, I'm going to break it down to tell us how we can create an environment to improve the cognitive development of infants, improve the cognitive development of toddlers, pre-scholar, grade scholar, and teenager, so that the first 18 years of life, we understand this principle, we build the environment around it, and we begin to create that impact that we want to see in our child. Also, when it comes to parenting for emotional development, we've talked about cognitive development. What do you need to know when it comes to parenting for emotional development? This is very important. The first 2 years of a child's life is where you build that secure base, where you build the foundation for emotional development. Listen to me. Have you seen when a child who is not living, an adult who is not living with the parents, and the child comes to the house, the first thing some of the children say by default is, "Where is mommy?" I don't know if you have experienced it. They just come to the house and the first thing they ask is, "Where is mommy?" Why did they ask that question? There is an investment, an emotional investment that mommy has made over the years that the child has become so attached that they can't just do without talking with their mom or seeing their mom for a long period of time. And you see, that secure base, we can create it for the first 2 years of a child's life. That is where we begin to put that impact. And one of the things we discourage, part of child psychology is that when you are trying to raise a child and you have nannies or caregivers, please be consistent, because the moment you begin to change nannies, you are creating an emotional gap, because as they are trying to get used to one, you are bringing another one. Same thing with teachers in the class. You keep changing and they are trying to get used to one, they are bringing another one. So there is no time to develop that emotional bond and attachment with that child. There is the time in which the child begins to develop fear, begin to develop smile and laughter. At that point, what do you do to be able to help? What environment do you create to be able to help them at that point? I'm sure most of us are familiar with separation anxiety. Separation anxiety is the concept where when a mother is leaving the house and the child is crying furiously, doesn't want the mother to leave. Do you know why they cry? Especially this happens especially with infant and even some and even in the toddler stage. And the reason is because of the concept known as separation anxiety. Separation anxiety is a concept which means that the moment the mother leaves, the child cries because it thinks the mother has disappeared. Or the moment the father leaves, the child cries because it thinks the father has disappeared. Because this happened because the child has not developed a concept that is known as object permanence. Object permanence says that when a thing is not within the sight of the child thinks that thing has disappeared. So you need to be able to help the child to manage this process. How do you create an environment to manage separation anxiety? And this is what we're going to be emphasizing in the class, so that I can teach you this, how you can create the environment to help them manage separation anxiety. If you don't do this, have you seen adults who grow in, have you seen adults who is also having separation anxiety disorder? The reason is because they didn't manage it while they were growing up. They are so clingy, they can't stay without clinging to someone. If someone is leaving them, they cry, they get furious, and they don't know they have this disorder because it was not managed in childhood. But like I said, we're going to be telling you the science behind it and how you can manage this aspect of a child behavior when they are children, before they get into the point where they become adults. Also, part of emotional development is that parents and caregivers socialize skills to communicate emotional expression. PF says something like, emphasize something like this earlier on, when we are talking of the way you express your emotion as parents will determine the way your children will also express their emotion to some extent. Because what they are doing is that they are picking this from you, so you are socializing them in the process, in the way you express your emotion. Also, when we talk about parenting for social development, as I begin to round up, is that we need to also understand that parenting, when we are parenting children, we are parenting them in the aspect of cognitive development, we are parenting them in the aspect of emotional development, but what about social development? What do you need to know when it comes to parenting for social development? How can I parent a child so that the child can develop social competence, so that the child can develop social skill and be able to interact effectively among his colleagues? These are things we're going to be sharing in details in the forthcoming sessions I'll be having. How do infant and toddler relate or interact with one another? The children learn to imitate, or imitation is inborn. Now, there's a research that has been done in this area. Before, they say that imitation is inborn, but however, when research began to go on, they realized that imitation is not just inborn, that imitation is something that the children learn, they acquire in the process of development. Now, there is this experiment that was done. It's known as the stiff-face experiment. This experiment was asking a question: are infants actively involved in social interaction? Because most of us don't understand. We think social interaction is developed the moment the child gets to maybe pre-scholar or grade scholar stage. The moment the child is born, the social interaction begins to take place, and the environment we create for them for the social interaction will determine how effective they will become when it comes to social development or relationship with other people. So this experiment says that when the woman was sitting in front of an infant, whatever she does or whatever the infant does, she responds to it. So if the infant is pointing at a particular direction, the mother will point, look at that direction. If the infant is smiling, the mother will smile. So whatever the infant does, the mother will do in return. But after some time, the mother put a stiff face. When the infant point, the mother refused to look at that direction. When the smile, the mother refused to smile. So the mother was not given that social, that response in return. And the infant began to get frustrated. He began to get angry, because the mother was not giving that response in return. And after some time, he started crying. Out of frustration, it was crying and crying and crying. When the mother started smiling again, it kept quiet and the relationship started, which means that infants are actively involved in social interaction. If you don't respond to them when they respond to you, you are creating a gap in their heart, and that gap can lead into adulthood. And you see a lot of children are wounded, which they take into adulthood, and they begin to get frustrated. There is trauma, experiencing trauma, and they pass it to the next generation, and the next generation passes it to the next generation, and this is referred to as transgenerational trauma. So we must be able to understand that this thing needs to stop somewhere, and that is why this class is important, because you can't give what you don't have. You need to be fully informed. To raise children, human behavior is scientific. It is scientific, it is predictable. The moment we understand how it works, and the moment we understand some of the principles that we need to apply. So again, in social interaction, we must understand attachment. What makes baby to love their parent and develop attachment with them? There is a science behind it. And we need to be able to dig deep, and we'll dig deep into this in class. How do babies show attachment to their caregiver? There is this principle known as the principle of serve and return. This principle was developed in Harvard University in the Center for Developing Child. And what they did is that they look at the child as we are playing with the child. They said the principle of serve and return means that when babies are growing up, there are certain things they do to us. They will smile. They will crave for attention or seek for attention. They will cry. They will laugh. They will do so many things to crave for attention. The principle says that what a child does at that point is known as serve. Now, what you do as parent or caregiver when the child smile, when the child crave for attention, when the child seek for attention, when the child laugh or need attention, what you do is known as return. Now, the principle is saying that if a child is crying and you are not responding in return, it's creating a gap, an emotional gap in the mind of that child. It feels that the child is rejected, is not accepted. And you know what, that when infant is born, there is a question that they're asking, and which is in their mind. The question is, can I trust the people around me? The environment you create for them will determine how they will begin to trust the environment or the world that they live in. But if you create an environment that frustrates them, they become suspicious of their environment. So he's saying that what you do to them when they show all these signs are known as social releasers. There are so many social releasers children give to us as they are growing up. They give us the social releasers of crying or smiling, of laughing. But what do we do in return? Some of us will get frustrated in the process. So what you do in return will impact on their upbringing, will impact on their social relationship. So we need to understand this principle so that it can help us to be able to help them develop their attachment. You see, if we don't do this, let me tell us, what we sow will definitely reap. Some of us, we are adults, we are parents. Most of us, or some of us rather, do not have good relationship with our parents. We are trying to develop that relationship now, but it's difficult. In fact, when you put a call through them now, you don't talk for more than 2 minutes because there is nothing more to say. And you get to my point. The reason is that it didn't start in adulthood. The foundation for attachment was never built. So it's not now you're not trying to build it, and now that you're trying to build it, you are struggling to do it. So in these sessions that we'll be having in the next 4 weeks, I'm going to teach us how we move from trust to identity. The point of trust, when infants begin to trust you, to the point of the teenage years when they are developing their identity. What are the principles? What are the environment we need to create to be able to help them? And as I conclude with moral development, how do you parent children for moral development? What do you need to know? There is the right and wrong, that all of us have this concept. What do you need to know for moral development? The truth is this: children start to develop helping behavior at the age of 14 months. They start to develop sharing behavior at the age of 18 months, but that will require some prompting. At the age of 24 months, they start to develop comforting behavior. So we need to be able to understand how, when this behavior start developing, and what kind of environment we need to create. What do we mean by helping behavior? So how do children start learning to help? There's an experiment that was done. They dropped a peg on the floor, and they left that infant watching the infant. If the infant is going to help, to be able to pick the peg and give to the experimenter. And they realized that it was until they get to 14 months, they began to develop that helping behavior. Now, if you understand this principle, you will know how to create an environment so that you can help the child to develop helping behavior, which we know as pro-social behavior. Same thing with sharing behavior. When do infants children start to learn how to share? So we need to understand that it's not okay, now go to there are critical moments where you can begin to teach infant all of this. What about comforting behavior? At the age of 24 months, this develop at a later age, and the reason is that comforting behavior is a behavior that you cannot see. It's different from helping and sharing behavior, because when you need help, they can see that you need help. When you need to share something, it's something that you can see. But when there is pain, they can't see until there is a prompting, and that develops at 24 months. Even at 2 years of age, which is 2 years old or 24 months, you start developing empathy. And that is where it's an opportunity for us to also create an environment where children begin to develop empathy. Your parenting style can impact on their moral behavior. If you're an authoritarian parent, I don't have time on this. We're going to have time to dig deep this in class. The parenting, authoritarian parenting, it impacts on their moral behavior. If you're an indulgent parent, your parenting style is indulgent, it impacts on their moral behavior. If you're authoritative in your parenting style, it also impacts on their moral behavior. So whatever values you want to create in your child, you need to understand the parenting style that works best so that you can begin to strategize and predict the behavior that you want to see. What about social learning? We talk about imitation. What you create, children imitate adults, and through action learn to be master a new skill, to master the behavior that they want to see. So I'm going to stop here, but there are so many things we're going to emphasize in each of these slides that I've shared with us tonight, because this session is very, very deep. It's something we do for days, because we need to look at the science of each aspect of the child development so that we'll be able to create the proper environment. We as parents, we are the one that creates the environment, and the environment is a major influence in the life of a child. Children are seed. The kind of environment you create will determine the product you will produce. So it's very important we understand this principle. Acquire this principle and grow yourself with this principle so that you can create the proper environment for them to develop properly. There are things you need to stop doing, and there are things you need to start doing as parents so that you can raise the children effectively. Thank you so much for your time and for the opportunity.
Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank God. He got me when he was talking about the boy he counseled with, who said that he was hearing his father fighting when he was still a fetus. That's a big one to me. And this shows the need for us to understand all those things. For those of us that still have younger children, you're so lucky. And for those of us that the children are old, well, we can trace ourselves back. It is your morning, and you can do that. And when he also mentioned the color conditioning, I remembered I have a daughter, and always buying everything pink, pink, pink. And it got to a point, when he was able to talk, and he said, "Mommy, I don't like pink. I'm not a pink baby. I like red and black." And you wonder where is that coming from? All girls we expect all girls to like pink. So we need to understand all those things. And that's why we are putting up this class, because we can't, it's 2 hours already, and we are still on this. So the time is not enough. But when we have a class, the class itself, we're going to cover a lot of things. And when Thank God was talking, at some point I became so emotional, because I remember I was feeling that pain in my heart, the pain of neglect, the pain of rejection, the pain of being talked down. And I know the effect of all this in my life presently. And we don't want to raise our children like that. For those of us, PF also mentioned that hurting people, we always hurt people. You don't know you're doing it. You just discover that that's a method. Because you're hurting, you need to heal. We need to go through the process of healing. And that alone is the only way we can raise awesome children, balanced children. PF said it when he was talking. We have prayed enough. What results? What results have we gotten? So we need to use the right method, the new rules, understanding the new rules, so that we can parent and have wholesome children. Okay, so we have a few questions that have been sent in. Somebody said, "Can I see number 1 point from PF's point?" PF, if you can share the first point? I know you mentioned like 4 or 5 of them. So somebody wants to see the first point, or let somebody just tell us what the first point is. And the second one, this is also for PF. What remedial measures are available for the parents of a 19-year-old who hasn't been a scout, a model, or an instructor? PF, are you there? Please answer the question.
Yeah, I'm there. Thank God. Can you stop sharing your slide? Just click stop share. Okay, good. Okay, so for that person who is looking for the first point, let me share it so that you can, okay, there you got it. You have it there. So basically you have it, so you can see that clearly. Now for the person who says, Ebu, can you repeat the second question, please?
The second question is, what remedial measures are available for parents of a 19-year-old who hasn't been a scout or a model or an instructor? I think that's from your level of development shared.
Okay, the first thing you want to do is, be humble enough to get back to that child, because already you are in the era of cheerleading and advisory. That's where you are. The child is already 19. The first thing you want to do is to sit with the child and apologize and understand that you've not been a perfect parent, because you did the best you could with what you knew, that you are having access to new information and there are new things you're learning that you wish you could have done better. That you just want to say you're sorry, and then you want to ask for permission, to come into his world or our world, and make a few things right. Okay, that's the first thing. And you say people are very vulnerable when they think they are in control. If you do that properly, you can now begin to ask that maybe are there things the child would like to teach you? Maybe once a week we can do mommy and daughter or mommy and son's meeting or something like that. If you make it regular, initially they will think maybe you want something or you're serious. But with time, they see your consistency and persistence, wearing comfortable and create an ideal environment where you say, whatever has happened in the past, I don't even know. I'm willing to hear you out. I promise I will not overreact. I just want you to trust me again. It's going to take some time, but with consistency and with the right body language, you realize that your advisory role, which is what age 19 and above is, will compensate for those ages where you are not going to be able to undo everything that has been done, but at least that's your child will begin to get it right with you. Then remember that that child is going to have children. And in Africa, most of the time, grandmothers are the ones who collaborate to raise a child, but no knowledge is lost. There will still be other children around you. But the first thing is you want to go and apologize to that child and engage, create a rapport. Everything is possible in the presence of rapport.
Everything is possible in the place of presence and rapport. Thank you so much, Pierre. So you can trace back, you can trace your step back by apologizing. I also learned that when you show your children your vulnerability, they respect you more, and you're also preparing them and helping them know that it is not a problem. It is not wrong to make mistakes as long as you discover and you trace yourself back. So it's also passing another message to your children. So it is not wrong to apologize to your children so that you can start the journey afresh and have the target goal ahead of you. So the second one is, how do we help or deal with a 10-year-old boy that is extremely quiet, timid, and lack confidence? Pierre, that's for you.
If your child is quiet, know why the child is. Please, can admin try and mute the person? There's someone that is making noise there. If your child is quiet, where is ego? If your child is quiet, we want to find out, why is the child quiet? Is the child an introvert? Has the child been extroverted before? Right? Did the child suddenly become introverted? If that's the case, then there's something that is troubling the child. Was the child a victim of abuse? Or maybe there's someone in the life of that child that is bullying the child. But if the child has always been an introvert, then that's the personality of that child. Introverts doesn't necessarily mean that they are weak. You now need to find that you need to talk to them extra hard for you to get into their mind, because the strength is that they process things from within themselves, which is not bad because they take their time, they analyze things and they analyze issues. There is nothing wrong with that child. Now, you also mentioned in the same vein the esteem of that child. Where's the esteem problem coming from? Is it coming from your handling? Is it coming from the environment that is bullying the child? Or where is it coming from? I mean, it doesn't just happen, right? It is something that happens as a result of maybe the upbringing of the child, the environment, or the significant emotional experience that that child has gone through. If the child is experiencing trauma and that maybe out of bullying in times past or the way the child is being raised, then I must say that you need to take your child to a child psychologist almost immediately. Maybe you need to talk to Thank God right away, or you can get in touch with us. We can help you analyze your child so that we know what you're dealing with. But on the interim, what you can do is to create affirmation, right? And like I said, talk about perceptual code. First, create a perceptual code. So if you say this child is a royalty, what do royalties do? Begin to teach the child about royalty, what royalties do, and watch the child blossom. Somebody needs to do that. And the other thing is create affirmation for the child. Consistently let the child be reminded of who he or she is consistently. But I think the first thing you might want to do is to actually find out what is going on. If you can't do it by yourself, I would recommend that you get a child psychologist, or you can get in touch with us and we'll help you psychoanalyze your child to know exactly what is going on.
Thank you, PF. There's another question here for you. So, okay, the person is saying, how can we effectively discipline these Gen Z children? Discipline is the word.
Okay, the word discipline is one of the words that has been wrongly used. When you say discipline, do you mean you want to slap, beat, yell? Because there are three words used wrongly. Number one is discipline. Second one is domestication. And the third one is punishment. The word discipline is the word disciplina. It's a Latin word, which means to groom, to train, to instruct, to coach. It's the word discipleship. If you are a Christian, you understand what discipleship is. In discipleship, you have won a soul. The soul is growing. After a while, the soul maybe misbehaves or does something. You don't slap, you don't yell. You negotiate. You remind the soul of who he is. You remind him of God's ability to forgive him. Is that what we do with our children? No. So we don't instruct, we don't coach, we don't groom. We apply the second one, which is domestication. The word domestication is Latin word domesticator, which means to clip wings, to tame, and to put under. And in fact, we say it, I'm going to tame you. I'm going to clip your wing. You are not disciplining your child. You are domesticating your child, because discipline does not take a child's personality. Discipline sustains a child's curiosity. Now, the third word is the word punishment, which is the Latin word punire. Punishment means to inflict pain, to damage, to inflict vengeance. That's punishment. So question is, are you punishing? Are you domesticating? Or are you disciplining a child? Because you can discipline a child, you can withdraw privileges, you can discipline a child by correcting that child, by reminding the child who he is, by seeking to know why the child did what the child did, and instructing the child not to do it anymore, or helping the child master how to do it better, right? So we always think that discipline is force. And many of us will likely quote, the Bible says, bound in the heart of a child is wickedness or foolishness, the rod of correction. Where the rod of correction to us is koboko. To a people who have been domesticated and colonized, rod of correction is koboko. To a people who have not gone through colonization, the rod of correction can be communication, it can be word of God, it can be instruction, it can be anything. So if you want, the goal of discipline is to correct a child. Do you want to damage the child or you want to correct? If I whisper, and whispering can correct the behavior, why wouldn't I toe the path of whispering? Why should I beat the child and yell on the child and scream on the child? Generation Z did not produce themselves, don't forget. They passed through ages 0 to 3, they passed through 4 to 6, they passed through 7 to 9, and 10 to 12. What did we do? We just suddenly wake up in teenagers and we say Generation Z, Generation Z. Generation Z are the report card of what we have produced. There is nothing wrong with them. We are the ones that need to master our script. And once you script your child properly, trust me, you'll be happy at the level of work that you have done.
Thank you, PF. So there is a repeated question here. And I think Pierre has answered the question, the first point that would there be, okay, so this is saying, would there be avenues for learning by old parents on how to right the wrongs of the past in a young adults, in addition to these teachings that's in the during the course when they're having the class? Is there going to be an avenue to right their wrongs at the class?
Yeah.
During the class?
Yes, there will be. We are going to, I mean, the first session is basically healing, you know, where we are going to be unpacking many of the things we have done wrongly. We're going to heal together. Yes, there will be avenues for that. Someone is asking, I can see, if I sign up now for 65K instrumental payment, how much do I pay at each installment? Please click the link. You choose what is convenient for you. We're not going to impose anything on you. That's why we want as many people as possible to take the class. So that's why we're providing support. So please go ahead, click the link, and then choose whatever works for you. So we're going to help people right their wrongs in class. So in case you think you have done it badly or you have not done it correctly, we're going to do all that in class. And that's why it's 4 weeks.
Another question, we're going to take 2 or 3 more, then we round up for today. How do you handle a 10-year-old that loves gadgets so much, that loves gadgets too much? That's the question. Yeah.
10-year-olds cannot just love gadgets too much. 10-year-old must have met people using gadgets. Okay? So my children read, and parents ask me, how come your daughter loves books? Say, because my daughter met me in the library, right? I do a lot of books. And then even in gadgets, no child has gadgets. You give a child your gadget, is gadget in trust. You own the gadget. Your child is only a steward of the gadget. He's not the owner, because your child cannot buy the gadget yet. So the problem is, we give gadget to a child and we conclude that they own the gadget. The child now begins to, you know, have dominion over a gadget that you own. So if you have given a child a gadget, for example, 1, you can password, you know, the gadget if you're less than 14, you know, in my house. Number 2, you need to submit the gadget at 9 o'clock, you know, and pick it up. So that's, you are using gadget to teach your child accountability and responsibility, right? There's a lot you can use gadget to teach, but a lot of us just give the child the gadget, and we even internet enabled it. We don't filter, we don't create install software that can ward up pornography. Then we scream that the child is watching pornography. It's like giving the key of your car to a 9-year-old, and you say, this is the key of my car, go and be driving it. He has not learned driving, and you are now praying. You now hire all the men of God and say, pray that the car will not be accidented. Of course, accidents will happen because you have not done what you need to do.
Thank you, PF. This other one is also in line with the gadgets one, but you know, this person is saying the child is 3-year-old.
The child is 3-year-old.
So he likes to watch and play, 4-year-old who loves to watch and play games and is so addicted to tablets.
Thank God, are you there? I want Thank God to answer that question. Thank God, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Did you hear that question?
Yes, I did. I think the first thing is we need to understand, like PF said, that when the child gets to 2-3 years old, you can start teaching them consequences for the action, because at that point they begin to understand some of these things, that when they do this, there's a law of cause and effect. So they begin to understand that at that point. So we need to also take a responsibility, even as parents, to see that some of this behavior, we can tame it. It's not when we allow it and when they get addicted to it, we'll now begin to complain about it. So what we can do at this point that the child has gotten addicted to it is for us to begin to see how we can try to retrace their step and create some form of consequences, or if possible, if you want to use the reward approach, to see if that's going to work, so that you can be able to stop the behavior. Because what I'm thinking in my head is that you're trying to stop this particular behavior, you know, that your child, you know, is getting addicted to. So what you need to do is to see what works for the child, what kind of environment you need to create, what kind of consequences or reward you need to be able to put in place so that you can be able to manage this behavior that the child has developed. However, one of the things we need to understand also that at that age, children are beginning to take initiative. This is also the point where you can have a clue of some of the things they can do later in life. So you need to create a balance so that you don't frustrate that action in when you are trying to create consequences and put consequences in place, or trying to reward them in order for them to stop that behavior. So you must also be observant and sensitive to be sure that is it not an area of passion they are already beginning to explore at that age. You understand? But the most important thing is that we must ensure that they don't get addicted to that. If they have gotten addicted to it, we'll try to see how we can create an environment where they can stop that behavior. And part of it is putting some consequences in place, or probably some rules in place to be able to checkmate the behavior.
Thank you very much. Thank God. And I just want to add to it, there are times that we want to work in the house and we just want to keep them busy. I'm sure that's where the addiction started from. Thank you. Thank God for that response. So we have these two questions. My 3-year-old is especially quiet in public, but plays very well at home. Am I right to say she is a
I can't hear you.
Okay, PF. Thank God, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
PF, your network. Okay, so it's saying my 3-year-old is especially quiet in the public, but plays very well at home. Am I right to say she's a shy girl, or something else is wrong? That's the first one. And the second question I want you to respond to is this one is saying, what's the difference between authoritarian, authoritative type of parenting? I remember you mentioned that you're going to explain that more in the class, but if you feel like saying something about it.
Okay, so the first question is, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
In responding to the first question, your child is quiet, is he at home, but in school he talks, right? Or he's quiet in school?
Quiet at home, talks at home, but quiet outside.
So you see there's a concept known as selective mutism. Selective mutism. Selective mutism is a disorder. And that disorder is when a child can talk in a particular setting, but in another setting, they are very quiet or they are shy. And the reason for selective mutism is probably maybe there is an experience of a traumatic event that the child experienced in that particular setting, that they are quiet or they are shy, that they don't want to talk. You understand? However, I don't want to quickly diagnose and say your child has selective mutism until we're able to assess the child. But that is a concept that I just want you to understand, that it's possible that the child, and it happens to some children, they talk in certain setting and they don't talk in certain setting. You understand? It's one of the reasons is because of probably an experience that they have in that setting. For instance, if they have an unpleasant experience in the classroom, maybe with their teachers or with someone, they might just get to class and they don't want to talk, but when they come home, they are free because the memories of that environment at home is something that allowed them to be able to express themselves and talk. So we need to be able to check to know what is really wrong, with that child. So like I said, I don't want to conclude that it's a case of selective mutism, but that is a concept that I just want us to be to understand and familiarize ourselves with. For the second question, authoritarian, of course, authoritarian parenting is the kind of parenting that deals with command and control. You don't allow your children to share their opinion. You don't want to listen to them. You don't want to hear from their perspective. You give an instruction. You just have to do it, whether the instruction makes sense or not. They just have to do it like a military approach. Go, do what I've said. You don't need to question or ask questions. While authoritative parenting is when you allow them to be able to ask questions. You allow them to share their opinion. You hear from their perspective. However, you're also firm, in your decision. That is what we know is known as authoritative parenting style.
Thank you very much. You will learn more about that in the class at the end of the month. So get ready to join us in the class. Take advantage of the 50,000 naira payments, which you can do between now and in the next 20 hours, or the advantage of the 65,000 naira, which is an early vote payment between now and the 20th of March. And we have numbers and the link to click on for inquiry and for payment plan. Thank you so much. Tomorrow is the International Women's Day celebration for 2021. And for every woman here, I want you to register for the meeting. We have a special one tomorrow. We have Adesua, and we have, please, can somebody drop the flyer for me? We have Adesua of the TVC and Morayo. We have Morayo and Adesua of Morayo of TVC and the legend Adesua. They're all, both of them are people we know on the screen, on the social media. And the theme for tomorrow's program is Women of the Future, Challenges and Opportunities. I want to say that as a woman, parenting is one of the challenges, and we can scale through it when we listen to people that have done that. And in preparation for our future, I mentioned that you are in your future. You need to prepare the future for your children. So we look forward to having you tomorrow. I am expecting that somebody will drop the link to register for tomorrow's meeting here so that all ladies in the house can register for the meeting. Thank you so much, everyone. It's 8:24 and it's Sunday night. There's work tomorrow. Pierre, do you have anything to say before we close
I want to
the
appreciate
meeting?
everyone. I want to appreciate all of you for, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay,
we can hear you.
I want to appreciate everyone. I want to appreciate everyone for attending this session. Trust me, we do not take your presence for granted. It's something that we are taking headlong. It's a personal matter right now when it comes to assisting Africans parent effectively, because that's something we need to do for ourselves. Nobody's going to do it for us. And if we all need to have a system based parenting template that we can all align to together, then together we can begin to raise the kind of future that we want. Like we rightly said, it takes a village. We need to create a new order of village. And that's why I'm going to appeal to everyone in here. Whatever we need to do to assist you to attend this class, we are willing to do it for you. Okay, so please take advantage of all the opportunities in there. If you want to pay today, 50,000. If you want to pay, spread it, it's 65,000. Strictly for those who attended this class. Every other person attending will pay the flat rate, which is 85,000. That's what we're doing. So thank you, everyone. We really, really appreciate you. God bless you all for all that you have been to us, and we do not take you for granted. Have a fantastic day together. We're going to raise exceptional children, and together we'll transform our world. Have a fantastic evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And have a beautiful
Bye.
week
Thank you
ahead.
so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. We're
Bye.
really
Thank you,
blessed.
PF.
Bye.
PF,
Such a
bye.
great meeting.
Awesome.
Bye, PF.
Thank you, Akpemi Owoye.
Thank you.